What if the person you vowed to spend your life with wasn't really in love with you but with your fortune? What if behind every smile, every "I love you," and every tender moment was a carefully crafted plan to take everything you and your family worked for? Today's story is a cautionary tale of betrayal, greed, and a courtroom twist so satisfying, it left the judge laughing out loud. Stay with me until the end, because this is a story you'll never forget. My name is Elena Martinez, and I'm 31 years old. I run a thriving commercial interior design firm based in Austin, Texas. What started as a small side hustle in college with a few design sketches grew into a business with nearly 50 employees and projects across the state. I come from a family that believes in hard work, honesty, and protecting what you build. My father used to tell me, "Elena, success attracts two things: admiration and opportunists. You better know how to tell the difference." I didn't realize how true his words were until I met Nathan Collins. Nathan swept into my life at a charity gala 4 years ago. He was charismatic, good-looking, and knew how to make every woman in the room feel like she was the only person there. He worked in real estate development, or so he said, and he seemed genuinely impressed with my achievements. When we started dating, he treated me like a queen: roses on my desk, surprise weekend trips, dinners at the best restaurants. My friends envied me, saying I'd finally found someone who matched my ambition. 6 months later, Nathan moved into my loft. At first it felt magical, like the start of a forever romance. He praised my work ethic, encouraged me through late nights at the office, and acted like my #1 fan. When my father passed away 2 years into our relationship, Nathan was there through every sleepless night. He held me while I cried and whispered promises about honoring my father's legacy. Looking back, it was the perfect performance. We married 3 years ago in a small ceremony in Santa Fe. I thought it was the happiest day of my life. What I didn't realize was that it was the beginning of his long con. In the months after our wedding, Nathan's behavior started to shift. He quit his job, claiming he wanted to focus on supporting my career. In reality, that support meant expensive shopping sprees with my credit cards, long lunches with friends, and frequent business trips I later discovered were luxury getaways. Whenever I questioned his spending, he accused me of being controlling or not trusting him. At first, I brushed it off. I loved him, and I told myself money wasn't worth fighting over. But small things started gnawing at me. He asked oddly specific questions about my business accounts, my property deeds, even my father's estate. It wasn't curiosity. It was calculation. Then came the night I walked in on him in my home office, flipping through confidential financial documents. Spread across my desk were reports about my company's valuation and details about my inheritance. He was on the phone, rattling off numbers. When he noticed me in the doorway, his face drained of color. "Oh, hey, honey, I was just organizing some paperwork for you." But I knew better. My father had always been cautious. Before he passed, he insisted I sign a prenuptial agreement with Nathan. At the time, I resisted, saying it felt unromantic. But my father's attorney, Margaret Liu, explained that it wasn't about trust. It was about protection. Eventually, Nathan signed. He didn't bother reading the whole thing, claiming he trusted me. That prenup would become my saving grace. Still, I said nothing after catching him snooping. Instead, I waited. Over the next weeks, I noticed Nathan's secretive phone calls, his sudden interest in community property laws, and his strange habit of dropping legal jargon into casual conversations. The final straw came when I reviewed our joint credit card bill and saw thousands charged to legal consultation services. Nathan wasn't just thinking about divorce. He was preparing to rob me blind. When the divorce papers arrived, I wasn't shocked. His attorney filed demands for half of everything: my company, my father's estate, and nearly $5 million in assets. Nathan even wanted spousal support, claiming he had sacrificed his career to support mine. I let him believe he had the upper hand. What he didn't know was that Margaret and I had already uncovered his strategy. He'd hired a private investigator to dig into my finances, paid thousands for reports, and even leaned on our neighbor Daniel Harris, who had gone through a nasty divorce himself. Daniel had been advising Nathan for months, coaching him on how to position himself as the poor, selfless husband who gave up his dreams for his ambitious wife. The irony. Nathan's own investigator documented that almost all my wealth predated our marriage or came through inheritance. In other words, he had paid $8,000 for a report that demolished his own case. The day of the hearing, the courtroom buzzed with anticipation. Nathan strutted in wearing a tailored gray suit and that smug smirk I'd come to despise. His friends filled the gallery, whispering excitedly like they were about to watch a live drama. During opening statements, Nathan's attorney painted him as a devoted husband who sacrificed everything for love. Nathan nodded solemnly, pretending to be the victim. Then, with calculated arrogance, he declared to the court, "I'm entitled to 70% of her millions, including her late father's estate." The room went silent. Even the judge raised his eyebrows. When it was my turn, I walked calmly to the bench with a manila folder. Inside were two things: our signed prenuptial agreement and the private investigator's report, commissioned by Nathan himself. "Your Honor," I said, "I'd like to submit these documents for review." The judge flipped through the prenup first, then the report. His expression shifted from intrigue to disbelief to something dangerously close to laughter. He looked over his glasses at Nathan. "Mr. Collins, is this private investigator's report accurate?" Nathan's face paled. I'm not sure." The judge turned to me. "Mrs. Collins, according to this prenuptial agreement, your premarital assets and inherited property are entirely protected, which means the bulk of what your husband is claiming is untouchable. And according to this report, commissioned by him, I might add, it seems most of your wealth predates the marriage." The judge chuckled. Then he laughed outright, shaking his head. "I have to say, this is one of the most ironic cases I've ever seen," Nathan stammered, insisting the prenup was unfair, that he hadn't understood what he signed. But the judge cut him off. "Mr. Collins, you had independent counsel. You signed willingly. You don't get to claim ignorance after 3 years of enjoying the benefits of this marriage." The courtroom was silent, except for the sound of Nathan's dignity collapsing. In the end, the judge ruled Nathan entitled to half of the marital assets acquired during the marriage, minus the debts he had racked up. That amounted to a pitiful $12,000. Worse for him, he was held solely responsible for over $70,000 in credit card debt he had accumulated while plotting his scheme. When the gavel fell, Nathan's smirk was gone. His friends avoided eye contact. Even Daniel, the neighbor who had encouraged him, slipped quietly out of the room. Within 6 months, Nathan declared bankruptcy. His reputation crumbled, and the same people who cheered him on abandoned him. Meanwhile, I poured my energy into growing my company and starting a foundation that helps entrepreneurs, especially women, protect their assets through legal education. My father's wisdom had saved me, but more importantly, it taught me that sometimes the biggest lessons come wrapped in betrayal. Nathan thought my kindness made me weak. What he didn't realize was that kindness backed by foresight and preparation is the strongest shield of all. So, what do you think? Was Nathan's downfall poetic justice or simply inevitable? Let me know your thoughts. And if you enjoyed this story, make sure to subscribe to Tales Between Time for more unbelievable stories of love, betrayal, and lessons learned the hard way.